Are we live? Hold up, is Ahsoka only in 24 days? Is that right? Hold up, somebody check the calendars. Lando show actually happening still? Wow. We got a lot to talk about today. On a nice Saturday night live stream. What's up, guys? It's Mike, a guy who loves Star Wars again. We got a lot to talk about tonight, but the main topic of tonight is what do you have to watch before you watch the Ahsoka show for all this craziness to make sense? The World Between Worlds, the new Beyond, where Thrawn and Ezra are, who Thrawn and Ezra are, who the Rebels cast are, all that other stuff. What you need to do as in homework, kind of, to understand at the highest capacity to understand what's going on in the Ahsoka show. Understand all the different lore, the Easter eggs, all the different storylines going on. What do you need to watch from now until August 23rd when the Ahsoka show drops its first 2 episodes? What do you need to watch to be most prepared for the Ahsoka show? We're going to talk about all that. We're going to talk about this Lando news that also is going on right now as well. So smash a freaking like on this video. There's some Ahmed Best news too floating around. There's a bunch of news, as always, going around the Star Wars fandom, and we're going to talk about all of it. So smash a gosh darn like on this video. Let me open up the chat real quick. And right off the bat, Austin had a great, we had a great conversation before the stream even started, but Austin had a great question. And let me give it up to the class. He says, who's more powerful, Anakin or Luke? Now, this is way off topic of anything we're going to talk about today, but we will talk about Anakin Skywalker being in the Ahsoka show at some point as well. But let's answer that question first, and I'm opening it up to the class. What do you guys think? Who's more powerful, Luke Skywalker or Anakin Skywalker? Now, this is canon Luke Skywalker versus canon Anakin Skywalker, so this is not like if Anakin didn't turn into Darth Vader or if Luke didn't become a hermit on an old on Ahch-To. This is canon characters. Who do you think is more powerful, Luke or Anakin? Let me open it up to the class. Austin says Luke. J1DRZ, what's up, says Luke as well. Interesting. That's actually kind of crazy. The Chosen One? Really? He's more powerful than the Chosen One. I get he's the child of the Chosen One. I get that. I get it. But this is the Chosen One we're talking about here. Dennis, what's up? Dennis says, is Shin maybe Kata from Survivor? Somebody else actually might have brought that up last stream. Maybe it was you, Dennis. I completely forget. But that is a great theory. So Shin, who of course is the apprentice to Baylan in the upcoming Ahsoka show, is she Kata from Jedi Survivor? Now, if you guys haven't played Jedi Survivor, slight spoiler alert, but one of the characters has a child. That character ends up dying, and now Cal Kestis is probably most likely going to train his daughter. However, that character, if I pull her up real quickly here, Kata from Survivor. Well, I should probably put in Jedi Survivor. Kata from Jedi Survivor. She does not look similar at all. So, like, she's got this. This is her right here. Boom, boom, boom. This is Kata. Let me pull it up. Let me pull it up. Let me pull it up. Boom. There we go. That's Kata. So she's got the dark black hair. And of course we know Shin. Let me pull up a picture of Shin real quick here. Shin from Ahsoka. And this is Shin. So they don't really look anything all that alike. Obviously one's a little child and one is a grown girl. But yeah, the eye color's different, the hair color's different. I don't think it's possible. It would be a cool little Easter egg there, but I don't think it's likely. She's got like maybe blue eyes. It's a weird angle. Is there a better angle of her eyes? Maybe she's got darker eyes. I don't know. It would be a cool idea. I mean, she's got kind of the same like hair length. She's got the bangs. I don't know. That would be cool because obviously we want Cal Kestis to come into live action. That's just the understatement of the year. I think everybody, and correct me if I'm wrong, would love to see Cal Kestis come into live action via the Ahsoka show or The Mandalorian or some point in the Mandalorian time period. Having him come into live action and be a part of that big movie would be amazing. But right now, there is no real, like, perfect entry for Cal Kestis. And it seems like they are going to make a third game, a third Jedi game. Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor, and Jedi whatever. And maybe that game comes out before he comes into live action, which would kind of suck because that game's probably nowhere close to being done. So it'd be years until we see him in live action, which would really be a bummer. I hope we see him this year in either Ahsoka or Skeleton Crew. But yeah, I don't know. Let's bring this one to the class. Do you guys think Cal Kestis and Merrin, of course being the Night Sister in that game, Cal Kestis and Merrin are coming to live action in the Ahsoka show or Skeleton Crew? Or if you think neither, when do you think Cal Kestis is going to come into live action? Austin says maybe it'll be called Star Wars Jedi Master. Maybe. I mean, the first one's called Fallen Order, so that's because, of course, the Order has fallen. Order 66. The next one's called Jedi Survivor because he's just kind of surviving during the time of the Empire. Maybe it's like Jedi Out from the Shadows or something. I don't know. Dennis says Merrin will be kidnapped from New Beyond Night Sisters. She needs her power for the death enemy of Thrawn. Oh, Death Army of Thrawn. Yeah, so Merrin is definitely going to be very helpful if it comes to a undead army that Thrawn has, because she's a Night Sister, and the undead army of stormtroopers will be brought to life by Night Sister magic. So yeah, Merrin will be very integral when it comes to fighting Thrawn. But when do you think they'll come to live action? Because they have to be introduced to live action before the movie, right? Because if they just throw them in the movie and the people who didn't play the video games, it would make no sense at all. How did we already get so far off topic only 6 minutes into the stream? I don't understand how we do this, guys. I don't get it. But I like it. So let's keep it going. When will Cal Kestis and Merrin, for that matter, because she will be very important as a Night Sister, when will she come into live action? Or when will Cal Kestis come into live action? What do we think? And with that being said, or while you guys type that out, let's talk about what Ahsoka Tano herself, Rosario Dawson, says you should watch before Ahsoka. So, Ahsoka Star reveals if you need to watch Rebels to enjoy the new Disney Plus show. One of Ahsoka's stars has revealed if fans need to watch... Actually, is this... Is this Rosario? No, this is... Yeah, this is the girl who's playing Sabine talking about this. So, one of the Ahsoka stars has revealed if fans need to watch Star Wars Rebels to enjoy the upcoming series. Star Wars' latest Disney Plus project is nearly here, August 23rd. As Dave Filoni's Rebels crew returns to the spotlight for the first time since the animated series came to an end in 2018. So 5 years since that show ended. Despite following the Clone Wars hero Ahsoka, the upcoming streaming epic has been teased as a continuation of Rebels, acting as a de facto season 5 to the beloved show. Can I get some love for Rebels in the chat? I feel like Rebels has gained some traction over the last year because of the Ahsoka show, because of what's going on in The Mandalorian. And I feel like it's still just the most underappreciated, most underrated Star Wars show there is. And being the biggest, or one of the biggest Rebels fans there is. Yeah, thanks. Yes, there we go. We got some Rebels lovers in the chat. Exactly. What's up, Logan? How we doing? This will come in a form of a direct follow-up of Rebels' cliffhanger ending, and the mission to find the animated series protagonist, Ezra Bridger. So just a little TLDR, if you didn't watch Rebels, the ending of it is Thrawn and Ezra getting blasted off into hyperspace via the giant space whales called Purgles, and never to be seen from again. Yeah. So, Ahsoka Star takes on Rebels. So this is Natasha Liu Bordizzo, who plays Sabine Wren in the upcoming Ahsoka show. Ahsoka Star, Natasha Liu Bordizzo, broke down just how vital it is to watch Star Wars Rebels before the upcoming Ahsoka series. Speaking with SFX magazine, the Sabine Wren actress remarked that fans will not have to have seen Rebels before Ahsoka, but it will add more weight to everything. So she said it will add more weight to everything but going on, but it's fine if you haven't seen it. So we've heard Dave Filoni say this time and time again, where you won't have to watch anything else to understand the Ahsoka show. Like, you don't have to watch The Mandalorian, you don't have to watch any of the animated stuff, you don't even have to watch the movies to understand what's going on in the Ahsoka show. And that's a bold, bold claim, because even to watch like The Mandalorian, it makes sense if you haven't seen anything else, but it will make way more sense if you watched the Clone Wars, if you watched Rebels, because characters like Ahsoka showing up, characters like Bo-Katan showing up, characters like even Luke Skywalker showing up, knowing the story and the lore and where you're at in the timeline makes it so much more enjoyable. However, Dave Filoni keeps assuring us that you won't have to watch anything. But here's what Natasha says. This is in line with former Ahsoka actress Ashley Eckstein, thinking about the upcoming show, who recently said she highly recommends that you take the time to watch these series before Ahsoka. So this is what Ashley Eckstein has been the voice of Ahsoka Tano through the Clone Wars, all 7 seasons, and through the 4 seasons of Rebels. So she says, and Tales of the Jedi. She says, I highly recommend that you take the time to watch these series, because if you don't, you're going to miss out on crucial backstories. And you really need to know to fully enjoy the Ahsoka series, which is so exciting. Meaning, she's seen the show. Bordizzo added in her SFX interview, when Ahsoka picks up, despite plenty of time passing between Rebels and the upcoming series, the same things are at the top of her character's mind that were when Rebels came to a close. So at the end of Rebels, we found Sabine at a specific point where they'd liberated Lothal, and she'd just lost her friend. Even though a lot of time has passed at the start of the show, the same things are on the top of her mind. She's still trying to find Ezra. So it's been about 10 years in the Star Wars universe, 10 years since the end of Rebels all the way up until Ahsoka. So it's been a long, long time. Speaking on what will push her character forwards in Ahsoka, Bordizzo revealed finding Ezra is definitely one of her biggest driving focuses. So this is what she says. I don't know if what happened with the Darksaber really weighs on her. If anything weighs on her, it was accidentally creating the weapon that was used against Mandalorians in the war. But finding Ezra is definitely one of the biggest driving forces. That crew was the only family she had left, and obviously, she and Ezra had shared a special bond since the start of it all. It's something that's both a strength and a weakness for her. First of all, do you guys think that Ezra and Sabine will actually end up being a couple? Like, we've shipped Luke Ahsoka for life. We've shipped Bo-Katan and Din Djarin. We've shipped all these different characters. But Ezra and Sabine are the most likely to eventually get together because Ezra's kind of just been in love with her since the beginning of Rebels. She also mentioned with deep level of respect that Sabine has for Ahsoka, noting that the two have been through a lot in the time that has passed, and the series will explore some of that. So, of course, what she's talking about in this next quote here is the fact that she calls Ahsoka master. The fact that they had training together within those 10 years, and at some point, Ahsoka left her to stop the training. So, this is what she says. I think there's a deep level of respect that Sabine has for Ahsoka, as someone to learn from. In the show, they've been through a lot in the time that has passed, some of which we will know about, some of which we don't. Their quest kind of ends up overlapping, bringing them back together. And there's tension, and there's things they've been through that they need to work out. Their reunion's interesting. That's very interesting. She says their reunion is interesting. We know that they've spent some time apart. However, what we do know from the trailer is that they spent a lot of time training together. Ahsoka trained Sabine, which is insanity. We did not know any of that happened. However, they spent long time apart. And what Natasha is saying here is their quests are now overlapping. Sabine's quest to find Ezra, and what seems to be Ahsoka's quest to find Grand Admiral Thrawn, like we've seen in The Mandalorian Season 2 when she goes up to Morgan Elsbeth and says, "Where's Grand Admiral Thrawn?" But what she says here is their reunion is interesting. Now, we still have a huge question mark going around the Star Wars fandom, and that is the epilogue of Star Wars Rebels what we're seeing in the trailer? And the only question about that is because Ahsoka is not wearing the same white robes that she's wearing in the show. She's wearing these darker grayish, blackish robes in the trailer. So all the rest of the scene is the same. Sabine looks the same. They're right in front of the mural on Lothal. Like, all the rest is the same, except for the fact that Ahsoka is not in the white robes. And that is a very, very important thing because Dave Filoni himself even referred to Ahsoka kind of as Gandalf the White when she comes back. And that's why she's wearing the white robes. However, in the trailer, she's not. So is this a different time? Is this a different reunion? Is this something completely different than what we saw in the epilogue of Rebels? You guys tell me. But we'll get into this because it says what fans watch should fans watch Rebels before Ahsoka. We'll get into that in 1 second. But let's talk about that article so far. So of course we had some love in there, but before that, J1DRZ says maybe in Andor Season 2. Andor Season 2, he was saying maybe we'll see Cal Kestis. Now, I don't think it would be Andor just because of the fact that Andor is kind of staying away from lightsabers, kind of staying away from Force users in that aspect. Now, it would be a big surprise and it would be very, very cool if he was in that show. First of all, because it's before the original trilogy and it would be insanity. But second of all, I think it's way more likely that he'll show up in the Mandoverse time period instead of before the original trilogy because of the fact that Andor goes right into Rogue One. And Andor, Cassian himself, having that kind of interaction with a Force user, interaction with a Jedi, would kind of sway his character a little bit more when we see him in Rogue One. That's just my take. Austin says, I feel bad about this. I have a bad feeling about this. He says, the best Star Wars quote. Yes, true. J1DRZ says, you should watch Rebels before this show. Yeah, we'll get into what you should watch in a second here. We will. Austin says, maybe in Ahsoka, we'll see flashbacks of how Luke meets her. That would be amazing. Her first interaction with Luke Skywalker would be so cool because in The Mandalorian, in the Book of Boba Fett, we see that the two of them know each other, and they have for quite some time because she looks at him, says, so much like your father. Luke gives a nice smile back. They already know each other, and they already know that that Ahsoka knows his father and that she was the Padawan of Anakin. Luke already knows that, but him getting that information might be a completely different scene that we could see in the Ahsoka show, which I'm sure none of you would complain if we saw that. Okay. Austin says, do you think that Sabine will truly have the Force? Austin, I don't know. I go back and forth on this all the time. It's a tough one. It's really a tough one. Sabine is a character that I could easily see getting the Force because of her training with Kanan, because of her ability to swing the Darksaber, her ability to, I don't know. It's tough. It is tough. I don't know. I could see it going either way and it making sense. I could see Dave Filoni explaining it in a way, either way, that would make perfect sense. But what do you guys think? Do you think Sabine will actually have the Force? Let's pull that up. Let's pull it up. Why not? Why not? Let's pull it up. Do you think Sabine will have the Force in Ahsoka? Yes or no? You tell me. You tell me. Yes or no? What do you think? Austin says, yes, Ezra Bean, please. Ezra Bean. Is that their ship name? Ezra Bean. Sarah. No, that's lame. Ezra Bean. I like it. Ezra Bean. It's great. I don't understand the Grey Jedi. Okay, the Grey Jedi are kind of like a balance between the dark and the light. The Grey Jedi tap into the dark side, tap into the light side, and have a balance between the two. The Grey Jedi are not really a... How do I put this? The Grey Jedi... It is tough. Some people describe Ahsoka as a Grey Jedi, but other people will argue that she's not for specific reasons. She doesn't really tap into the dark side of the Force. A Grey Jedi is somebody who can not be pulled to either side and be neutral in the middle, if that makes sense. Grey Jedi are a very cool concept, and you see very little of them so far in canon Star Wars. Dennis says, does Ahsoka know about Tanalorr and Cal? Interesting. I don't know. I don't know at all. We don't know what Ahsoka knows. Like the same way when Ahsoka shows up at The Mandalorian Season 2, we didn't even know if she knew Luke existed. Like, we don't know. There's so much question marks around the character of Ahsoka Tano. I don't know. I don't know. Logan says, actually, no, I don't think so. Are you referring to Sabine having the Force or Ahsoka knowing about Tanalorr? Ahsoka knowing about Tanalorr would obviously mean she knows about Cal Kestis, which would change a lot. Because Cal Kestis hasn't been brought into live action at all, hasn't been mentioned in live action at all. And we've had so much time with Ahsoka Tano through Rebels where we would think she would talk about Ezra. Cal. Austin says, that line when Ahsoka says, I'm no Jedi. Yeah, so that's... Obviously, she left the Jedi Order, so that's her kind of just saying that. Logan says, yeah, you are born with midichlorians. That's true. So everybody's born with a certain amount of midichlorians. However, not everybody has the extent of midichlorians that the Jedi do. Now, with that being said, the Jedi go out, when they were at their peak at least, they go out to villages and other planets, and they find Force-sensitive babies. And what they do is they train those babies. However, if they didn't find those babies, it does not mean that they will become Force-sensitive. However, they do get trained. When they get trained, that's when they have the ability to use the Force. So that leads me to believe that not anybody, of course, but anybody with a high enough midichlorian count, and again, we don't know Sabine's midichlorian count, but anybody with a sufficient amount of midichlorians, if trained correctly, should be able to use the Force, no? There really needs to be some definition to this, you know? Logan says, can a Jedi have low midichlorian count? That's the thing, we don't know. We don't know all these Jedi's midichlorian counts. What about the weaker Jedi? Like, there's some stronger Jedi like Anakin, like Obi-Wan. Those people probably have higher midichlorian counts. What about weaker Jedi? Like a Kit Fisto or somebody who's not on the council. I'm blanking on any names right now, but any of them. Like, is it possible that a Jedi could have a very low midichlorian count? It's all up for grabs. Like, there is no definition of what makes a Jedi, what makes a Force user. How many midichlorians specifically do you have to have? None of that is canon information. So Sabine becoming a Jedi, or Force sensitive at least, might just all depend upon her midichlorian count plus her training, which she has a lot of. She trained with Kanan, and now supposedly she trained with Ahsoka. And we don't know for how long. Could have been for years. I don't know. Dennis says, I read 8,000 midichlorian. I don't know. Like, that's the thing. I don't know if that's like canon knowledge or anything like that. Austin says, because one say Palpatine could have killed the parents and taken the babies for himself. What? Oh, you mean like that Clone Wars episode where he starts stealing the Force-sensitive babies? That is true. So he could have probably trained them in the ways of the dark side. So yeah, it's kind of how you get trained and who trains you. Whether or not you're strong with the Force, whether or not you're strong with the light side of the Force or the dark side of the Force, or strong with the Force at all. It's kind of just based off of who trains you, I'd guess. Right? Right? All right, let's get back on topic. Let's get back on the main topic of the stream here. What do you need to watch before you watch Ahsoka? So, this is what Natasha Liu Bordizzo says. Should fans watch Rebels before Ahsoka? As Natasha Liu Bordizzo said, fans do not need to feel obligated to watch all 4 seasons of Rebels before Ahsoka debuts, but they will be rewarded if they do. Now, this is interesting. They will be rewarded. That means, of course, you will know more of what's going on. You will understand more of what's going on. And these characters popping up like Sabine, like Hera, like Ezra, like Thrawn, that will make way more sense to you because you've watched the show. Natasha herself previously revealed that she watched everything, including Rebels, before she got on set as Sabine, just so we know who her character was in the context of the galaxy as a whole when Ahsoka picks up. For one, nearly every main character from Rebels will come back, with each of them having dealt with the time that has passed since their animated series ended in different ways. So that's the thing too, is we saw all of these characters, or almost all of them, in Rebels. So Hera, Chopper, Sabine, Thrawn, Ezra, Ahsoka, all those characters we've seen in Rebels for 4 seasons. You spend so much time with these characters, getting to know them, what they like, what they dislike, this, that, and the other thing. So when it comes to the Ahsoka show, you will already come in with that knowledge, already knowing these characters, already loving these characters. So, this includes Lars Mikkelsen's villainous Grand Admiral Thrawn, who plays a key role in Rebels and is now seemingly being set up to be the big bad of the Mandoverse. So yeah, Thrawn will be the big bad of the Mandoverse. We talked about the Ahsoka leaks last Saturday, was it? Well, last week. We talked about the Ahsoka leaks, how it's going to end. Whew, it's going to be a good show. It's going to be a good show. For fans that are wanting to add want added context, knowing where these characters come from and the dynamics that they have embedded and bowed between them, then a Rebels watch is a must, with a possible run through of the Clone Wars for extra credit. But for those who are okay with jumping in blind and being introduced to these characters here in the Ahsoka show, then there is, at least according to Natasha Liu Bordizzo, no need to binge through the series in anticipation for Ahsoka. Ahsoka is being... It comes out on August 23rd. So, with all that being said, what should you watch before the Ahsoka show? If you had all the time in the world, if you had the next 24 days, whatever it is, 25 days, if you had the next 25 days to just watch TV constantly, 24 hours of the day, I would say go rewatch all of the Clone Wars, all of Rebels, and all of The Mandalorian. And here's why. So, the Clone Wars, for one, is the introduction to the character of Ahsoka. She comes in as this bratty, whiny little Padawan, and she develops as a character like crazy, like none other, honestly. She comes in as a really annoying, whiny baby, and then becomes one of the coolest characters in all of Star Wars. She's also the apprentice to Anakin Skywalker, and you get to see all of that. Also, the Ahsoka show might involve Anakin Skywalker in not only reference, but in flashbacks or in Force Ghost. Anakin Skywalker could play a huge role in that. So the connection between Anakin and Ahsoka is a must know, which means you must watch the Clone Wars. Now, the Clone Wars is 7 seasons, so that would be a whole lot to watch. Maybe you could find a list online of the most important Ahsoka episodes or something along those lines. But 7 seasons of the Clone Wars with 20-minute episodes, 20-ish episode seasons, I'm guessing, is a long time. It's a long commitment. And sure, you could get it done in time, but that would be like you're watching TV constantly. Then there's Rebels. Now, watching 4 seasons of Rebels, I think, is the most important thing going into the Ahsoka show. If you could watch anything, I would say the 4 seasons of Rebels are the most important thing to watch. Because, again, Sabine, Hera, Chopper, Ezra, Thrawn, Ahsoka, and maybe Captain Rex. All these characters are going to be main characters of the upcoming Ahsoka show, and they're all heavily developed and introduced, honestly, in the Rebels show. So not only is the World Between Worlds, which is supposed to be very, very important, but the Purgle, but the New Beyond, all these cool things that we're going to be introduced to in the Ahsoka show are all going to be from Rebels. The World Between Worlds, the Purgle, the New Beyond, Thrawn being this new big bad. It's all starts in Rebels. Now, The Mandalorian is probably the least important on the list to watch because I'm sure if you're watching Ahsoka, you've already seen The Mandalorian, and Ahsoka only has such few scenes in The Mandalorian. However, Thrawn is going to be the new big bad of the Mandoverse. He's going to be the main bad of Dave Filoni's movie. So with that being said, you will want to watch The Mandalorian over again because there might be some character overlap, whether it's Ahsoka, whether it's Mando, whether it's the Mandalorians, Bo-Katan maybe even, because Bo-Katan knows both Sabine and Ahsoka. You could also watch the Book of Boba Fett because of the Luke and Ahsoka meetup, which could possibly happen in the Ahsoka show. There is so much that I would advise you to go watch if you had all the time in the world. However, if you don't, the most important thing, I think, in my personal opinion, and it's not because I'm a big Rebels fan, but it is Star Wars Rebels. But what do you think? Do you think it's must watch? Do you think you need to go watch these things? Or are you going to go watch these things? I know, Austin, you're watching the Clone Wars, right? Watching it over again? I'm out. I'm all out. Gotta reload. Dun dun. Where was I? Austin says, I cried in happiness when Ahsoka first appeared in Rebels. It is pretty awesome when she comes in Rebels. I mean, the end of that second season. What the hell's going on here? Without giving any spoilers away, is amazing. The whole Vader and Ahsoka stuff is crazy. J1DRZ says, do you think Agent Kallus will be in Ahsoka? Interesting. So Agent Kallus, by the end of Rebels, correct me if I'm wrong, becomes a good guy. He joins the rebellion, right? So it's possible. I mean, he probably becomes a general or some sort of higher up leader in the New Republic. So maybe he's working under Hera on her ship, and maybe it could be like a brief cameo or something like that. I would not be opposed. Agent Kallus is a very big role in Star Wars Rebels, you know? Austin says, I think Moff Gideon could be alive. I hope Moff Gideon is dead. I know. Okay, so Moff Gideon died at the end of season 3. And I think 3 seasons is a great arc for Gideon. He had an amazing arc in season 1, amazing arc in season 2. Season 3 was kind of an iffy arc. I mean, he only shows up at the end, but he has the Force-sensitive clones, so that's a huge thing. But I think he's dead. I mean, just let him die. Let the man die. I know nobody's ever truly gone in Star Wars, but just let this man die. You got Thrawn coming in. Thrawn is this amazing new bad guy who's way more powerful, way more intelligent than Moff Gideon was. He's always 1,000 steps ahead. Just go to Thrawn. You don't need Moff Gideon anymore. As much as I liked Moff Gideon as a character, leave him dead. Leave him dead. Don't Palpatine Moff Gideon, please. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. No. All right, now let's talk about what Rosario Dawson has to say about this. But first, Anthony, what's up? Anthony says, honestly, the weird way that Moff Gideon went out, I'd like to think that he's still alive. Yet I think that he needs to be dead. I bet he was supposed to show up in Rangers of the New Republic, but of course, the firing of Gina Carano changed a lot of that. I think it's possible that whole thing altered the course of The Mandalorian Season 3 in a big, big way, the story of it at least. So yeah, I think it did have a big effect on it. But Moff Gideon, like you said too, needs to be dead. He needs to be. Like, bringing all these characters back, like, who's ever really gone at that point? Like, nobody. So just leave him dead. Leave him dead, you know? Austin says, I think Thrawn is pure evil. Here's the thing. Thrawn in Legends is a lot less pure evil than he is in canon. And a lot of fans actually have a problem with that. I know Brittany is a founding member around the channel. She's always around commenting about Thrawn because he's her favorite character. And she always says, I want him to be not just a pure bad guy when it comes to canon Star Wars. And I agree with her. Thrawn has a very evil side, and he's a bad guy for sure, but he's only working for the Empire because it's in his best interest at the time. And when it comes to him being the heir to the Empire, it's a completely different look. It's him doing his own thing, but he's always doing it for like his own reasons. And that's kind of why Thrawn is such a dynamic character. J1DRZ says, don't worry, Kathleen Kennedy isn't in charge. Well, here's the thing. Kathleen Kennedy is still in charge technically, and I know what you mean. I mean, Dave Filoni is the GOAT, and he is in charge of the Ahsoka show. He's in charge of the movie. However, Kathleen always has the last say, and until she's gone, which might be a long, long time at this point, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. Literally, just a few weeks ago, we were so excited. We were like, Kathleen's gonna be gone. Kathleen's gonna be gone. Oh yeah, she's gone. She's still here. Like, Indiana Jones bombed, like historically bombed, like really badly bombed, and she's still here. So I don't think there's anything that could get rid of this lady's job at this point, except for a miracle. Anything short of a miracle, I don't know. For my own sake, I hope that she's gone. Austin Snow says, Kathleen Kennedy is Palpatine. She really is. Yep. Yep. Indeed. Anthony says, I have a feeling that Dave Filoni will contextualize the character of Thrawn more in the way that he was in the extended universe. Since this is live action, and Timothy Zahn has been a consultant on Star Wars since 2015 or so. That's true. I think Thrawn is going to be portrayed very, very well in this show. I mean, Dave Filoni, again, like you said, is consulting Timothy Zahn, who created the character of Thrawn. Thrawn, get it? He created the character of Thrawn. So he's consulting him. He knows the character very well because Dave Filoni grew up with the extended universe. I don't think we're going to miss with Thrawn. Thrawn's going to be an amazing new addition to the bad guy calendar when it comes to Star Wars. You already have fantastic, amazing bad guys in Darth Vader, Darth Maul, Palpatine, like some amazing villains in Star Wars. Now you add Thrawn to that mix of canon bad guys, I should say. Canon bad guys. So, yeah. Austin says, the Empire is good or evil? Well, the Empire is evil. Clearly. I was actually working on a video like a year ago, probably more, about Palpatine and why he thought, or not, he wasn't like a good guy and he wasn't a bad guy. It was Palpatine and why he needed to take over the galaxy and why he created the Death Star. And it was a whole thing. I never ended up making the video. It was too much. Maybe someday. Maybe I'll finish that video someday. All right, let's see what Rosario Dawson, Ahsoka herself, has to say about watching other things. So, what you need to watch before. So next weekend, I'm going to Fan Expo Boston. If anybody's around the Boston area and wants to come to Fan Expo, or are going to Fan Expo, I should say, let's start a meetup. But Rosario Dawson was supposed to be there, and she backed out. And I'm a little bummed out about it, but Hayden Christensen will still be there. The voices of Ahsoka, Anakin, and Obi-Wan from the Clone Wars will be there. Matt Lanter, Ashley Eckstein, and... Whoa, what the hell is his name? Who voices Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars? What the hell is... How am I blanking on his name? You know who I mean. They'll all be there, so it's still going to be amazing. It's still going to be awesome. And I can't wait, but freaking Rosario backed out, and I'm upset. No, I'm just kidding. But here's what Rosario has to say about watching Rebels first. So, Rosario Dawson on if fans need to watch Star Wars Rebels before Ahsoka. Let me zoom in a little bit here. That's better. That's much better. So, Ahsoka star Rosario Dawson has a message for Star Wars fans who have not watched a single episode of the animated Star Wars Rebels. Is Rebels required viewing for Ahsoka? Rosario Dawson spoke with The Hollywood Reporter to promote her latest movie, The Haunted Mansion. So The Haunted Mansion is Disney's latest movie. I think it came out this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. Has anybody seen it or plan on going to see The Haunted Mansion? Tell me in the chat. But she is a star, or starring in the movie, The Haunted Mansion, and this was an interview that she had for this movie. So this is what she said. When the subject of her Star Wars spin-off series came up, with Ahsoka being considered the 5th season of Rebels according to series creator Dave Filoni, Rosario Dawson was asked if the animated Star Wars series was required viewing before her series premiered on Disney+. She said, "Oh my goodness, yes." Natasha Liu Bordizzo said something to that effect, and there was some fanfare about it, but it's important, Rosario said. So that's very different from the reaction we got from Natasha. She said, you don't have to, but it would definitely help the experience. Rosario Dawson says, oh my God, yes. You must watch Rebels. It's important. Watch it. That is her reaction immediately. So Dawson continues by explaining how Filoni and the members of Lucasfilm creative team tried to keep different groups of Star Wars fans engaged with every new story that comes along. With Star Wars fans, there's folks who more and more... I just skipped a complete line. There are folks who really just watch the films. But now, and especially with The Mandalorian and more people are watching the live-action shows. And then there are people who watch the animated shows. Shout out, you guys watch the animated shows? Tell me in the chat. You guys watch the animated shows? Give me a 1 in the chat if you watch the animated shows. I'm hoping there's all like 1,000 ones in the chat, please. And then there's people who watch the animated shows. There's even a tier beyond that with all the books and fan fiction. So there's different levels to the Star Wars family. And it has always been very highly considered to make sure everyone can watch it. So there's different levels to the Star Wars fandom, and Rosario Dawson kind of maps this out perfectly. She says there's a level where there's just people who watch the movies, there's a level where people watch the live action shows and the movies, then there's people who watch the movies, the live action shows, and the animated stuff, and then there's people who watch all of it, read the books, there's people who read the comics, there's people who do the fan fictions, there's people who do cosplays. Like, there's levels to this madness. Like, a lot of it. A lot of levels to the madness. And the thing with it is, Halton, thanks for the subscription, buddy. That's actually really cool. It tells me when somebody subscribes. That's so cool. But yeah, that's cool. So, there's levels to the madness, and Rosario Dawson maps this out pretty well. However, what's always the goal with every Star Wars project is to be able to get to gear towards every single level of the madness. Every single person should be able to watch the show, understand what's going on. If they want to learn more, they can go watch the other shows. But if they just want to watch this one show, it'll make sense. And that's what Dave Filoni has always told us. However, Rosario Dawson says, go watch it. While the character of Ahsoka Tano made her Star Wars debut in 2008's Star Wars The Clone Wars movie, funny story about the Clone Wars movie, it's the lowest rated Star Wars project, I think, on Rotten Tomatoes. But the Star Wars Clone Wars show, the show of the Clone Wars is the highest rated Star Wars project, and the movie is the lowest. And it's the same characters, same animation, like it's just funny. She was not depicted in live action form until Dawson took on the role in The Mandalorian Season 2, where she meets the title character. Why did they not use titular? They know it's my favorite word. The titular character, and encourages him to take Grogu to seek out the apprenticeship. Is that a word? Apprenticeship? I feel like they're making up words in this article here. Apprenticeship of Luke Skywalker. She returned in the Book of Boba Fett to oversee Grogu's training with Luke. Now, in her upcoming series, Ahsoka encounters the emerging threat to the galaxy in the form of Thrawn. Lars Mikkelsen's Thrawn. Created by Dave Filoni, Ahsoka star Rosario Dawson, Lars Mikkelsen, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who plays Harrison Dula, Natasha Liu Bordizzo, who plays Sabine Wren, David Tennant, who plays the droid. What's the droid's name? Somebody help me out. What's the droid's name? The droid that helps build the lightsabers. And the late Ray Stevenson, who plays Balin. The 8-episode premieres August 23rd. So it's a short article, but the message from Rosario is, oh my God, yes, it's important. Watch Rebels. So that's a few different messages from one star to the next. And Natasha says it's not necessary, but it does help. And Rosario says, watch it. Watch it. Yeah. All right. Where was I? Oh, wow. You guys are typing a lot. I love it. Okay. Where was I? Yeah. Anthony. Anthony says, also, am I the only one who suspects the Chiss ascendancy and the Grisk could be the plot device to protect the Mando characters from the sequel trilogy by telling a better, more memorable detour? Interesting. So the New Beyond could do this. The New Beyond could take all these characters that we know and love, from Ahsoka to Din Djarin to Grogu to Boba Fett to Bo-Katan, to all these characters that exist in this Mando time period that don't show up in the sequel trilogy. They could take them and bring them to the New Beyond to fight a even cooler war, to tell an even better story versus Thrawn and his undead army, versus the Chiss ascendancy, with the Grisk involved, is what Anthony's trying to say here. And that would be amazing. First of all, it would make so many people who don't like the sequel trilogy have something else to look at as the sequel trilogy. And I do hope that Dave Filoni's movie is the first of 3. I really hope he gets a trilogy. It would make so much more sense for him to get a trilogy that becomes the new sequel trilogy, and people kind of just don't really look at the other sequel trilogy as canon, or not really canon, but like as the sequel trilogy, you know? I would love that, Anthony. I would absolutely love that. I would. I'm sure many of you do too. Austin says, nah, on Haunted Mansion. Yeah, I don't want to watch it either, honestly. I don't. J1DRZ says, I will see it, but it should have come out mid-September. Why? Why mid-September? I don't get it. Austin says, I think Sabine will finally admit her feelings for Ezra. I think that will happen too. Whether it's in this show or in the movie or just in some Mandoverse story, I think that will happen as well. Anthony says, if someone offered to take me, I'd see Haunted Mansion. However, I'd rather see Meg 2. That looks like it's going to be scary fun. Yeah, true. Yeah, I have no interest in seeing Haunted Mansion, honestly. I was just wondering if you guys were. But I actually saw Oppenheimer on Thursday. That's why we didn't have the live stream. I told you about that on Tuesday's stream. But Oppenheimer was amazing. And I saw the Barbie movie this morning too. That's kind of funny. Not going to lie, that was more entertaining than I thought it was going to be. And I did not think it would be that funny. But it's got a lot of adult humor, honestly, for a Barbie movie, which I did not expect, which is kind of cool. Anybody seen the Barbie movie? Anybody seen Oppenheimer? What do we think? Tell me in the chat if you have. Anthony says, of course, just watched 3 episodes of Young Jedi Adventure this week. Oh, did season 2 already come out of that? Or like the second phase or whatever they were doing with that show? Swagger Like Us says, this is Filoni's passion project. So I know, what's up Swagger by the way? I know the story will be great enough to stand on its own. Tales of the Jedi is a great example. Anyone can watch it and get invested. That's true. Tales of the Jedi is literally 6 episodes. It's only 6 episodes, 3 of Ahsoka, 3 of Count Dooku, and they're like 10-minute episodes, and you can just be hooked on those 10 minutes, 6 episodes, and you can understand what's going on. Without even watching anything else, you can understand what's going on. And that's the talent of Dave Filoni's storytelling. Anthony says, Mike, meanwhile, I'll bet if they released the Clone Wars, The Siege of Mandalore in movie theaters, it would be the best rated of all the animated content for Star Wars. Well, it is the best rated, right? When you look up like highest rated IMDb or highest rated IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes. I think the 3 episodes of The Siege of Mandalore are like all in the top 10. Like they're all like 99 out of 100 or 9.9 out of 10. Like they are that good. That story arc is insane. It's so good. But yeah, imagine they released that into a movie theater. I'd go see that immediately. Immediately. Seeing the Darth Maul versus Ahsoka scene on a big screen would be awesome. I saw Oppenheimer on the biggest screen possible, the 70 millimeter one, in IMAX, and it was spectacular. Like the screen was so big you couldn't look anywhere else but the screen, and it was like, holy crap, and it pulls you right in. That with the Siege of Mandalore, ooh, that would be insane. J1DRZ says, how far apart is the Mandoverse from the sequel trilogy? So it's about like 25 to 30-ish years. Oh, Anthony says 26 years. Yeah, so it's from the original trilogy to the sequel trilogy, it's about 30 years. Because I believe Ben Solo is created after the Battle of Endor, and then he's born, and then by the time of The Force Awakens, I believe he's 28 or 29, or something along those lines. I think, right? Am I off on that? Somebody help me out. Somebody help me out. But I believe that it's about that time. So, yeah. 26-ish years, Anthony says. Makes sense. Makes sense. Around 26 years before the events of The Force Awakens. I'll catch the Haunted Mansion on Disney Plus, like you said, around Halloween. Oh, Halloween. That's why it should be in December. That makes, September. Yeah, that makes way more sense. Halloween. Yeah, that makes way more sense. Anthony, Austin says, I just want to get the backstory about Sifo Dyas in live action. Sifo Dyas is one of my favorite characters in Star Wars that we have literally learned nothing about. Like, he's such a cool character in concept just because of his introduction. In Attack of the Clones, Obi-Wan goes to Kamino, and they say they've made this army of millions of clones for Master Sifo Dyas. And Obi-Wan says he's been dead for however long. He says, whatever, man. I forget how long it was, but Sifo Dyas just like that one piece of information just like makes you love that character. It's so cool. I'd love to see more Sifo Dyas for sure. Anthony says, it's worth noting Jon Favreau emphasized during season 3 of The Mandalorian how he and Filoni will have so much time to tell the stories without having to necessarily worry about connecting the dots. That's true. Here's the thing. How long is the Mandoverse timeline going to go on for? Is it going to be... Here's the most logical thing that Star Wars could do right now is have The Mandalorian Season 4 come out and maybe Ahsoka Season 2. But if not, do Book of Boba Fett Season 2 or something like that. Just go Mando Season 4 and then Dave's movie, right? And then you go into a next phase and you have 3 Dave Filoni movies and the 3 movies end each phase. And if you can keep Thrawn alive through all the phases, that would be spectacular, but I doubt that will happen. So here's what I think should happen. Thrawn is the main villain of all 3 movies, and you have different shows in between the movies. So it's really like you have to watch the Disney Plus shows to understand what's happening in the movies, and it will have all the Star Wars fans watching all the shows, watching all the movies, being so invested in these characters, what's going on in the shows, what's going on in the movies. So you could have Mando Season 4, Dave Filoni's movie, Ahsoka Season 2, Skeleton Crew Season 2, second movie of the trilogy. Mando Season 5, Book of Boba Fett Season 3, third movie of the trilogy. And that ends it all and brings you right into the sequel trilogy or brings you past the sequel trilogy. I mean, does that not sound like just like the greatest idea ever and an easy way to just print money, tell an amazing story, and give us all what we want, which is a Dave Filoni trilogy of the Thrawn's heir to the Empire? To make things even better, why not go first movie, a Luke Skywalker Jedi Temple show. Second movie, the fall of Kylo Ren and the rise of the First Order TV show. Then the third movie. I mean, what do we... Yeah, that's genius. That would be great. Exactly. This is not rocket science. I need like something like an emoji. Is there a rocket emoji in the chat or something? Like, I say it's not rocket science all the time in these chats, in these live streams. And we need something to signify how much I say that, because it's just insane. Because it's not rocket science. Literally on these live streams, I'm pretty sure Swagger said this a few weeks ago. We come up with way better ideas than Lucasfilm does on these live streams every single freaking week. We stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and every week we come up with better ideas than Lucasfilm does, and it's not rocket science. How easy would it be to create a fan base that is so solidified and so not divided, and actually intrigued on what's coming next, what show's coming next, what movie's coming next, because it's all interconnected and it all takes place in Dave Filoni's universe, in the Mandoverse. It would be amazing. It would be amazing. Swagger Like Us says, that would be a dream come true. The new Beyond, the Chiss Ascendancy, the Grisk, fingers crossed. Yeah, I know. I hope that's the truth. I hope Dave Filoni's working up to create a better sequel trilogy, but I don't know if Kathleen Kennedy's going to let him. That's the thing. That is the biggest thing. Austin says, listen, Kathleen, we got some good ideas. I know. She should be listening. The firework emoji, that's pretty close. I like it. There's no rocket, it's not rocket science. There's no rocket emoji in the chat. Come on, guys. It's got to be a rocket. Got to be a rocket somewhere. Rocket. It's a roller coaster. I don't see a rocket, though. This is lame. Oh, this is firework. See the firework? Oh, what's that? No, that's not a rocket. I know, right? Prime Entertainment, huh? Oh, there's a rocket! Austin found it! There's a rocket! It's not rocket science! Well, now how do I get out of that? Okay, there we go. Got it. Good job, Austin. Anthony says, agreed. Simply, it can all be known as the Mandalorian saga, with Din Djarin and Grogu, two of the constants in the story. This way, we get to see how Luke Skywalker became a legend. That's true. The Mandalorian saga should be something that actually exists. It should be something that happens. It should be the new sequel trilogy for fans who don't like the sequel trilogy. There's so many great characters in here, like Grogu, like Din Djarin, like Bo-Katan, like the Mandalorians themselves, like the Ghost Crew, like Ahsoka Tano, like Boba Fett, that are all better than the characters that we got in the sequel trilogy. So why not? Why not? Swagger Like Us says, Anthony, great imagination. Yeah, exactly. What fan would love that journey to a live action trilogy in the Mandoverse? What fan would love a journey? I think all of them. No, all the fans. Just take out Rey and bring in someone better. Well, that's the thing too. Is this Rey movie really gonna happen? Just like we said, is Kathleen Kennedy going to get fired? It does not seem like that's going to happen. So is this Rey movie going to happen? I don't know. I certainly hope not. Yeah, Austin says no. I hope not. But we'll see. Let's talk about this. Why not? Let's do it. I made a full-on video about this that I posted yesterday that's not doing very well because I don't think people really care about this show anymore. But the Lando show. Let's shift gears a little bit. We can come back to the Ahsoka show after, but let's talk about the Lando show. Oh, boom. There you go. J1 DRZ just perfectly brought a transition into place. I would rather see the Lando movie over the Rey movie. It's a Lando show, but it's close enough. So, the Lando show. Perfect. There was some news about the Lando show. If you guys watched my video, thank you very much. If you haven't yet, go smash a like on that. Go leave a comment. Do all that fun stuff. It's not doing very well because it seems like nobody cares about this news. Seems like the Lando show is not on anybody's radar at all. But here's what happened. Donald Glover makes Star Wars history with this new Disney Plus show. So, Donald Glover will reportedly take up a historic role in his upcoming Disney Plus series, Lando. So, Lando was announced in 2020, December of 2020, by Kathleen Kennedy, as a brand new event series for Disney Plus, seemingly set to see the return of Donald Glover as the titular Star Wars icon. I love this website because it uses my favorite word, titular. Kathleen Kennedy revealed in May of 2022 that there has been no movement on the project. So it was announced in December of 2020, and then over 2 years later, there has been no movement on the project due to Donald Glover, being busy. Yeah, that was Kathleen's excuse. This show's not happening because Donald Glover is too busy. The Lucasfilm exec reaffirmed that the series is still happening in an interview with IGN at this April's Star Wars celebration, adding that the actor is very excited about it. So Donald Glover is very excited about the show, but he's just too damn busy. Donald Glover takes new role in Disney Plus's Lando development. So here's what happened. Vanity reported that Dear White People creator Justin Simien, that's how you say it. I had to look it up on Google, by the way, and did the voice thing, and it was like Justin Simien, and I was like, perfect. I didn't want to get that one wrong. Who was revealed to be developing Lando at the time of its announcement, has exited the project. So here's a funny thing. Let me pull this up real quick. So Justin Simien has exited the project. By the way, Holton, are you in the chat right now? Just wondering. Shout out to Holton if you're in the chat. Shout out to Holton in the chat. Here we go. Where was this? What was I just pulling up? Oh, yeah. Okay. Here we go. So this is what happened yesterday. Or was it yesterday? 2 days ago? I forget. So this is what happened. So we got this news, or maybe it was 2 days ago. There's news about Justin Simien leaving the project of Lando. And we'll get into who is now writing the show in a second, but this is how Justin found out, apparently. So Justin Simien put this on his Instagram. This is me finding out right now. So the report is Donald Glover and his brother Stefan are to write the Lando series as Justin Simien exits the series. So that's the news, is Donald and his brother are now going to be the writers. However, this is Justin Simien's Instagram, his official Instagram. And he found out that he was off the project of Lando through this report. He follows up and says, Donald is a national treasure. Glad he and Stefan get to carry out the character forward their way. Can't wait to see. Rooting for everybody black, is what he said. But what's insane is this is how the guy found out that he lost his job writing on the Lando show. Was through a report that Donald and his brother are now the writers and he has exited the show. I mean, does it get more Kathleen Kennedy than this? Like, she didn't even fire the guy. She just announced that somebody else is writing and that he has left the project. She didn't even have the audacity or the dignity to fire the guy. She just reported that he has left the project. Oh, Kathleen. So, with that being said, Justin Simien has exited the project. Of his own free will? No. Of Kathleen Kennedy telling him that he's fired? No. Of him finding out that he's fired because of the news? Yes. Okay, let's read on. The series will now be written by brothers Donald and Stefan Glover, who worked on the hit series Atlanta together, with their deal to write Lando reportedly reached before the start of the writer's strike on May 2nd. So the writer's strike has been going on for months now. The actor's strike started a few weeks ago. So we got a bunch of strikes in Hollywood that mean nothing is going on in Hollywood. However, this agreement of Justin not being a writer on the show anymore, and Donald and Stefan being the writers on the show happened all the way back in May 2nd. On May 2nd. However, Justin has just found out that he's no longer creating the show through Instagram. Through the article that he found on Instagram, he found out that he's no longer working on this project, even though supposedly he was supposed to find out all the way back on May 2nd. This is insane. This is actually insane. This is Kathleen Kennedy to like the biggest. This is the perfect example of how terrible of a leader Kathleen Kennedy is for Star Wars, for creators, for anybody who works on Star Wars. People are literally running away from Star Wars. Damon Lindelof runs away. Kevin Feige runs away because they don't want to work with Kathleen because this lady's a freaking psychopath. She literally fires the guy by announcing that he has exited the project when he didn't even know about it. This is crazy. This is absolutely bonkers. Let's read on. Donald Glover will officially make history with the upcoming Lando. So this is supposed to be good news. This is supposed to be great news. Donald Glover and his brother writing the show, and Donald becoming the first ever person in history to star in the show and write the show. So Donald Glover will officially make history with the upcoming Lando Disney Plus series, as he will mark the first person to write a Star Wars project and also star in it. It's big news. It's great. Congrats, Donald. Good job. However, this comes with the biggest grain of salt ever, because Kathleen Kennedy is a stupid person. Kindly, respectfully. Let's read on. Lando will see Glover reprising his role as the young Lando Calrissian, played in the original and sequel trilogy by Billy D. Williams, following his debut as the Galactic Scoundrel in 2018's Solo, A Star Wars Story. According to Deadline, Justin Simien exited the project last year ahead of Glover's brothers boarding Lando for writing duties at some point before May 2nd. So this Deadline report says that Justin Simien exited the project last year. However, back in April, during the time of Star Wars Celebration, and even in June, he made remarks that the Lando show is still being worked on and it's doing great. And he's excited about it. However, he hasn't been on the project for a year. It seems like nobody seemed to call the guy himself and tell him that he wasn't on the job anymore. Everybody but this guy knew that he had the job because Kathleen forgot to make the phone call. This is ridiculousness. So, the Direct recently asked Justin Simien about Lando prior to the news during the press circuit for his last directorial outing, Haunted Mansion. So he's literally directing the Haunted Mansion movie for Disney, by the way. The writer stated that he's poured his heart into the series and everybody loved it, before noting that the scheduling difficulties and how he hadn't received an update since 2020. I certainly poured my heart and spent a lot of time working with them to put together a really great show. I feel like everybody loves it. And I was told that we have to put it on pause because of scheduling. And the next update I got was in 2020, some years ago, so I don't know. I have no idea what's going on with it, and clearly nobody thought to call him and tell him that he was fired. She's so dumb. She's so stupid. She's so stupid and dumb. It's ridiculous. It's so funny when people say, Mike, why don't you play nice with Disney so they give you free stuff like tickets to movies or red carpet premieres? Why on earth would I want to be within 100 feet of this lady? She is so stupid. It's ridiculous. Like, I would literally just see her across from the red carpet and go, Kathleen, you suck. How would I be able to do anything else? She's so dumb. Okay, here we go. When will Lando actually release on Disney Plus? Disney Plus's Lando doesn't appear to have made any real progress in almost 3 years since it was announced, seemingly due to Donald Glover's busy schedule. But That all appears set to change as the Glover brothers' new writers signed points to a newfound commitment to the project following the recent end of Atlanta. So Atlanta's the show that he was starring in and writing on is over now. So he has free time. However, the Screenwriters Guild or the Writers Guild of America strike continues with no sign of reaching an end anytime soon. Developments remain at a standstill for Lando, just as it did for many other Star Wars projects, Marvel projects, and Disney Plus series. So, Glover doesn't appear to have much on the horizon right now aside from returning as Troy Barnes in the Community movie, which will shoot next summer. The actor will also write and star in a spy comedy series based on the 2005 movie Mr. and Mrs. Smith for Amazon. But that does appear to have wrapped filming already. So, once the strike ends and Glover can get back to work on writing and starring in projects, Lando may well fall rather high on his priority list. Hopefully, the show will now have the momentum it needs to get the ball rolling towards production. So, with regards to when Lando will premiere on Disney Plus, it may still be some time away as the Glovers probably haven't had the chance to start writing, but depends on how quickly the script moves along. Lando may be able to start filming as soon as next year, possibly in time for a release of 2025 or 2026. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so with all that being said, the writer strike's still going strong, the actor strike's still going strong. It does not seem like this is going to be done anytime soon, this Lando show at all. However, it could be that the actor strike ends tomorrow. It could be that the writer strike ends tomorrow. And if that is the case, it could begin filming next year. Now, that seems very far-fetched, but we shall see. And, of course, I'll keep you updated on anything that comes out about it, even though most people don't seem to care about the Lando show at all, because it's been 3 years since we got any updates about it until now when we find out that Justin Samin lost his job via an Instagram report and Kathleen Kennedy forgot to call him. So, where were we? Boom. Austin says, Kathleen Kennedy, you're fired. 2 weeks later, Kathleen Kennedy, you're rehired. I don't get it. They just fired her. Well, they never actually fired her. There was just there was a meeting that people thought she was fired. Like, this whole thing happened, and it didn't actually happen that time, at least. But yeah, it's stupid. Ed says, I'm late, but I'm glad to be here. Ed, we love to have you here. Austin says, I got a bad feeling that KK will take credit for this. Well, obviously she's going to take credit for anything good that happens. It's Kathleen freaking Kennedy. Swagger Like Us says, if Lando happens, please don't make it an origin story. Yeah, true. As a longtime Donald Glover fan, I like this creative move. Unfortunately, Kathleen should have never announced this project with no story treatment. That's true. There was no reason for them to announce the Lando show back in 2020, except for the fact that they just wanted to do it because it was an investor day. They wanted to make sure that they knew that they were working on projects. Donald Glover was a big name. Lando was a big name in Star Wars. It's a disaster. Never should have been made. You're right. Never should have been an announcement. Until the story was actually written for it, never should have been announced. Anthony says, probably, but one of, probably what? Oh, Kathleen Kennedy taking credit for it. But most of us fans will know the truth. A lot of these successes could have happened without Kathleen Kennedy's involvement. I hear she leaves the company. She wants EP credit. Give her all the credit anything to get her gone, honestly, at this point. I don't care. Just get her out of there. Honestly, just get her out of there. But yes, we all know that she's not the one who does all this. All these successes could have happened without her. The only thing that we can credit her for is putting John and Dave together, and literally a brick could have done that. Like any inanimate object could have just done nothing, and John and Dave would have got together regardless. Austin says, prequels are way better than the sequels. That's the understatement of the year right there, Austin. That's the understatement of the year. I wonder if anybody on the planet would disagree with that. Maybe J.J. Abrams? maybe Kathleen Kennedy. But other than those two idiots, I don't think anybody would disagree with that. You know? Anthony says, true. Meanwhile, Jon Favreau has already penned 2 episodes of The Rangers of the New Republic, which Gina Carano has read. Yet Kathleen Kennedy, Gina Carano and Jon Favreau's story. Yeah, so that's the thing, is Jon Favreau was in the middle of writing Rangers of the New Republic, and Kathleen Kennedy went and fired Gina Carano without even telling him. And that, of course, blew up all the plans that they had for the Mandoverse, blew up all the plans that they had for Mando Season 3, Rangers of the New Republic. The story was supposed to go like this. Mando Season 2 was supposed to happen. Then we were supposed to get some time away from Grogu and Din Djarin. Dave was going to do the Rangers. John was going to do the Rangers of the New Republic. Dave was going to do Ahsoka. And they were kind of going to split up, but also still help each other out. And then they were going to come back and do The Mandalorian Season 3. The Book of Boba Fett was never even in the conversation. That was just a last minute, we have to do this because Kathleen Kennedy is making us. So, yeah. Yeah. J1DRZ says, can Kathleen Kennedy do anything right? Breathe, maybe? I think she breathes correctly. I'm not sure. Probably not, though. Swagger says, it amazes me how I grew up seeing Kathleen Kennedy produce Spielberg films, but none of that experience had benefited her tenure as Lucasfilm's president. That's very true. That's very true. It's literally baffling that she spent so much time around these great creatives like Spielberg, like Lucas, and none of it rubbed off on her. Like, what? It makes no sense. Yeah. Austin Snow says, because of Clone Wars. What's because of Clone Wars? I lost you. Sulfur Squirrel, what's up? Sulfur Squirrel says, hello there. Hello there. Hello there. Yeah, so that's the Lando news. At first it sounded like great news. Donald and his brother taking over as writers. He's going to be the first person to write and star in his own show. Sounded great. And then we find out that this is how the last writer finds out about it. It's a disaster. It's a disaster. This is how the man finds out that he got fired from his job. On Instagram. From a report. Geez. Kathleen Kennedy, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Austin says, because of the Clone Wars, the prequels are good. That's true. The Clone Wars do benefit the prequels very, very well, but the prequel trilogy itself is still very, very good, you know? The hype for Lando is so down, though. Sulfur Squirrel, you are absolutely correct. Look at the video I made on it. Let's just quickly pull it up. Boom, 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 boom. The channel has been doing so great lately, and thank you guys so much for that. I can't thank you guys enough for how amazing the channel has been doing. But look at this. And obviously, it's only been out for 1 day, but this is still insane. Let me pull this up real quick. Boom, boom, boom. Look at how amazing these videos have been doing lately. Like, 2,000 views is amazing. 800 views is amazing. 400 is still great. 900 is great. 300 is great. 700 is great. 1,500 is great. 47. Granted, this is up in the 50s. That's just like a delayed thing. But nobody cares about the Lando show. It's crazy. It's actually crazy. I might do a community poll on it just to see how little people really care about it. But it's wild that nobody gives a flying rat's ass about this Lando show. It's insane. I thought maybe I made that video so quickly, or one of my greatest edited videos. I thought, in my personal opinion, I thought the thumbnail was so fantastic. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about the Lando show at all because 3 years have gone by and there's been no news. It's kind of wild. It's kind of wild. Anthony says, hell, George Lucas was meant to be an executive creative consultant for the company while Kathleen was president. But once the collective decided to chuck his story treatments away, yeah. So George Lucas obviously was supposed to be very involved in the sequel trilogy, was supposed to be involved in Lucasfilm's future. He didn't want to be the president anymore. He didn't want to run the whole thing of Star Wars because he didn't have enough time in the day. He wanted somebody else to do it. He of course sold the company to Disney, but he wanted to stay on and help out. He wanted to stay on and write stories and help out any way he could in creating characters and all this other stuff. But when it came to the treatments that he gave for the sequel trilogy, like all these other ideas that he had, they just threw him out the window and they didn't use them or use him at all. So he's like, yeah, fuck you. I'm not going to help you guys at all. And that's kind of what happened. George Lucas now will not work on any Star Wars projects because why would he? Honestly, if you're him, I wouldn't. Swagger Like Us says, Lando has a tie into the Mandoverse. How so? Oh, has to tie into the Mandoverse. Yeah, I mean, I could see that happening. I could definitely see that happening via the Crimson Dawn, maybe. Because again, the Lando show could involve Kiara and the Crimson Dawn as well. But it could involve the underworld. Could involve Boba Fett, a younger Boba Fett. Imagine that. Yeah, I mean, many different things could connect it, the Lando show to the Mandoverse. Imagine Boba Fett. That would be so cool. A younger Boba Fett. And Tamara Morrison just does the voice because you don't see his face because he's freaking Boba Fett. He doesn't take his mask off. Yeah. I love that emoji, by the way, Swagger. You always use that and it's hilarious. Austin Snow says, who's worse than Kathleen Kennedy? Yeah. And J1DRZ says, nobody. Exactly. Ed Chilton says, Lando plays a role in the Thrawn trilogy books. That's true. He has his own ship called the Lady Luck, also true, and he saves the day more than once. Yes, that's very true. Lando does play a big role in Thrawn's Legends trilogy. Lando also plays a big role in this book, Shadow of the Sith. But this is a canon novel, and the Thrawn one isn't. That's the thing. We've seen Luke Skywalker in the Mandoverse era, but we haven't seen Leia, we haven't seen Han, we haven't seen a young Ben Solo, we haven't seen Lando, we haven't seen Chewie, we haven't seen so many of these characters. Why haven't we seen them? We've seen Luke. We should be seeing these characters. I know, I get it. They're not there. They need to deepfake them or they need to recast them. But you already have Alden, who played Han Solo great, I think, at least. I think a lot of people would be okay with seeing Alden again as Han Solo. You already have Donald Glover coming back to play Lando, so why not bring back Lando with Donald Glover? Why not? And then recast Leia and Luke. Why not Luke, too? Recast them all, and then you can do all the stories you want with them. All the stories you want with them. Just do it. Austin says, hell, just make Kathleen Enterprise. Kathleen Enterprise? What? I don't get it. Oh, you mean like make the company Kathleen's Enterprise instead of Lucasfilm? Swagger says, it's amazing how they threw away the creator of Star Wars' treatments as if he didn't create two successful blockbuster franchises in Indiana Jones and Star Wars. It's insane. It's literally insane. They literally took the creator himself, George Lucas's treatment for the sequel trilogy, and said, nah, not like you did the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy and the Indiana Jones trilogy. It made them amazing. We're going to do our own thing. It's so dumb. It's so stupid. It's so dumb. It's so stupid and it's so dumb. Anthony says, I agree. At least get Billy D. Williams into a chair and film him, de-age him via CGI, and make him a hologram message or HoloNet news story overseeing the mining companies from the extended universe. Yeah, I mean, you don't even have to CGI him. Just take Donald Glover and do it with Donald Glover. Why not? Like, you already have him coming back to do his own show as Lando. Why not just take him and run? Austin says, no, get Kathleen her own damn Enterprise. Well, honestly, if she had her own Enterprise and didn't have Star Wars to work with, nobody would watch any product that she made because she sucks. True story. True story. Oh, yeah, I want to talk about this a little bit. here. Ahmed Best, who plays Jar Jar, has opened up a lot about the backlash of Star Wars and him coming back to Star Wars and all that other stuff. So let's read that. This is coming from Deadline here. Let's just read this up real quick. I gotta zoom in big time on it. It's very small. Here we go. Jar Jar Binks actor. Why is the go away? There we go. Jar Jar Binks actor reveals backlash to Star Wars' character that made him consider taking his own life. So this, of course, I'm sure you guys know, back in the prequel trilogy when it was released, Jar Jar got so much hate that Ahmed Best, who plays Jar Jar and now plays Killer and Beck in The Mandalorian, he got so much crap. I mean, it was insane. And, of course, it led to him feeling very depressed about his character, feeling very depressed about life and all that other stuff. And now he's opening up about it a lot more. So here's what he has to say. Is that good? That's good. Okay. The actor who played Jar Jar Binks has revealed the devastating personal toll that fan hatred of his character, of his Star Wars character. Yes, that's what I said. Okay. Ahmed Best thought all his dreams had come true when he was plucked from obscurity to play the creature in George Lucas's Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. The Best, his last name is Best, Ahmed Best had been performing in a persuasive dance troupe when he was selected to audition, but his lifelong dream had been to appear in a Star Wars movie until the reality. So he had always wanted to be in Star Wars until it actually happened. The actor told the UK's Guardian newspaper how the wrath of the fans who took against both his character and him left him depressed and even, at one point, standing on the Brooklyn Bridge and considered taking his own life. Ahmed Best told the paper that he thought, "I'll show all of you, I'll show you what you're doing to me. And when I'm gone, you will feel exactly what I went through." Ahmed Best appears in a new podcast, The Redemption of Jar Jar Binks, detailing his initial excitement at winning the role. It was I was an enormous Star Wars fan as a kid, Best remembers in the podcast. I didn't know what was happening. I thought it was a prank. He said that the backlash started before the film was released and continued with websites dedicated to slamming his character and invitations onto chats shows just so hosts could have a pop. Then, when his phone number was leaked, he had began receiving death threats, and he had trouble leaving his home. So it was really, really bad. Think about it. There was no social media at this time. So Ahmed Best was getting the worst of the worst on TV, on chat rooms, because there was really no internet all that much, at least, that people had access to via an iPhone. It was all on computers and stuff. So people were hiding behind screens and calling him when his number got leaked out. It was bad. It was really bad. A lot worse than actors even have it today, but when Best's phone number was leaked and his answering machine filled up with death threats, it became difficult for the character to leave his New York City apartment. Worse was to follow, with criticisms of the character that he played into racial stereotypes, something he and the producers denied. So it was terrible. Best said of the period following the film's release, "It was the lowest I've ever been in my life." Though Jar Jar Binks was sidelined in subsequent Star Wars films because George Lucas heard the hate for the character, of course he made his character have less of a role in Episode 2 and Episode 3. Best had continued his connection with the franchise and most recently appearing as the Jedi named Keller and Beck in Disney Plus's series The Mandalorian. And of course, he got so much love and attention for that role, and that probably made his appreciation for the I mean, I follow him on Instagram, and you can tell that he feels loved a lot more now. Coming back in The Mandalorian, the fandom gave him so much love, social media being a big part of that. Of course, there's so much hate on social media, but again, there's so much love on social media. It's more of what you pay attention to, but it's more of who you follow, who you interact with. There's so much hate on the YouTube channel here. There's so much hate on the Instagram channel, but it's what you pay attention to. It's what you actually want to focus on, and you take what you're given, honestly. So you just ignore the bad comments and you take the good ones, and it's hard to ignore the bad ones, of course. And of course, Ahmed Best had that to the extreme degree, which none of us can probably relate to, but he's found his peace with it, and he loves playing the character of Kelleran Beck in The Mandalorian, and that's very good to see. He is the best. He really is. What's up, Joe? How we doing? So, where was I? J1DRZ says, I love Jar Jar. Jar Jar is the best, Austin says. Sulfur Squirrel says, I can't decide whether everything centered around the Mandoverse is a good thing or a bad thing. If it's done in moderation, maybe. That's true. I mean, I think everything should have a focus, but you should have other time periods. Go to the Old Republic. Go to past the sequel trilogy. Have all these different stories going at the same time. But yes, I think the Mandoverse being played out, figuring out these characters' stories, is a must. Ed says, George Lucas had time to plan out the prequel trilogy story. He needed an idiot that would be the one to give Palpatine authority to give the clone army and end democracy. Jar Jar was that character. I wouldn't say an idiot, but yes, he did need a way for Palpatine to get the power. And, of course, Padme's character was not going to do that, but having Padme's character be distracted, having Jar Jar be there, that character is necessary. And honestly, I like Jar Jar, especially being a kid growing up with the prequel trilogy. Jar Jar is a fun, lovable character. He's funny, and comedic humor in Star Wars is always been there. It's always a must, and it's in Jar Jar's character, although he's clumsy and he's weird, he is that comedic relief. He is that sort of Star Wars is made for kids, and that's George Lucas's message, and Jar Jar is made for kids. And although I'm sure many of us here are not kids, or we're still kids at heart. let's say that. You know. Your pal Joe says, "What's up? What's up, Joe? How we doing?" I know you're upset you missed the last stream, and so I'm glad you're here. Sulfur Squirrel says, "Bruh, why can't Kathleen just get a fourth of this treatment? Not like the death threats and stuff, but some public backlash." Yeah, it seems like, obviously, don't want death threats to go to anybody, and I don't want them to go to Kathleen Kennedy, but it seems like Kathleen Kennedy has some dirt on everybody. Like, nobody wants to talk bad about her. Not even Star Wars creators. Like, I feel like when I'm saying that she's stupid and she's dumb and she's dumb and she's stupid, I kind of like feel like, should I be saying that? Because nobody else is saying that. And I feel like I'm being a little bit mean. But when she does stupid and dumb things, I mean, it's pretty easy to say. But I feel like she's got dirt on everybody because nobody talks any crap about her. There's no articles out there that talk bad about Kathleen, when there's articles talking bad about everybody. Even Bob Iger, the CEO of the whole entire company, Disney, gets bad articles written about him. Even the CEO of Warner Brothers, Zaslav, gets bad articles written about him. Everybody gets bad articles written about them except for Kathleen. It's like she has dirt on everybody. And I don't know what it is. I don't know. Jar Jar was the best, by the way. Yeah, he was. Ahmed Best is the best. You're absolutely right, Joe. Fire Kathleen Kennedy. She's ruining the galaxy. Don't agree with you. I mean, don't disagree with you there. 100%. 100%. J1DRZ says, I want to see a Revan trilogy. A Revan trilogy would be amazing. We talked all about Revan coming into live action last Tuesday, but if you weren't here for that, oh my goodness. The news about the possibility of Keanu Reeves being cast as Darth Revan in the Acolyte show. Amazing. Amazing. I hope it's true. I hope we get Darth Revan very soon and we go to the Old Republic and we get this Darth Revan trilogy, like you said, because it would be amazing. Austin says, do you think Jar Jar could have been a Sith Lord? It's funny. It's a funny fan theory thing that has turned into like an actual possibility. And Jar Jar as a Sith Lord would just be funny. I like it. I honestly hope we get redemption for the character of Jar Jar. I mean, Jar Jar, we don't know what happens to him after the prequel trilogy. He kind of just disappears and we never see him again. I don't know where he could show up next. Like, there's no real projects that he could show up in, but I would love to see Jar Jar again. I hope he gets his redemption. I believe in Legends, maybe it's canon, I don't know. He goes back to Naboo and becomes like a street performer, and that kind of sucks. So I hope he does get his redemption. Ed says, I don't have enough characters to say, I didn't have enough characters to say lovable idiot regarding Jar Jar. George Lucas needs somebody to give Palpatine power and not be hated by the fandom for doing it. That's true. Yeah, no, 100%. 100%. Your pal Joe says, Episode 1 is too serious without Jar Jar. It was necessary to have some comedic relief. That's very true too. Episode 1 gets a lot of crap because it's not like the original trilogy. It's very different, and that's what George wanted to do with the prequel trilogy, and that's what he did, and that's why it's amazing. But at the time, a lot of people did not like it. They wanted the same thing as the original trilogy, and that's not what they got. And when Jar Jar was the comedic relief, he was an easy target to kind of just crap on him, especially if you were a critic. So, yeah. J1DRZ says, that was a great move. What was a great move? I don't know what you're talking about. Ed says, I think Jar Jar got his redemption in the Clone Wars series. That's true. He kind of has those fun. They actually even made fun of the theory of him being a Sith Lord in the Clone Wars when he pretends to be a Sith Lord. And it's awesome. Jar Jar does kind of have a redemption in the Clone Wars. You're right. But I'd love to see him again in live action. I think that would be very, very fun. I'm sure Ahmed probably doesn't want to play him again, but if he did at any point, I'd love it. That would be a great move to do Keanu Reeves as Revan. Yeah, it would be an amazing move. I mean, it would literally print money. It would print money. Anybody got any money emojis in the chat? Money emojis? It would literally print money. Going to the Old Republic, going to Darth Revan, going to Darth Malak, going to Darth Malagus, all those characters from literally any of them, from the Knights of the Old Republic, from the Old Republic cinematics, to the Darth Bane trilogy, any of that Legends material during the Old Republic time period would be amazing and literally print money. Oh, great, there's the money. Oh, that's amazing emoji. That's an amazing emoji. Darth Nihilus, exactly. There's so many amazing Sith Lords, but amazing Jedi, amazing characters that aren't Jedi or Sith Lords that exist in the Old Republic that are already there. They're already there and already have a fandom around them. The amount of fans that are begging for the Old Republic to come into live action, to come into Star Wars content, is insane. Meaning you already have a fandom. Kira, exactly. You already have a fandom that is ready for these characters. You already have a story that is there. All you have to do is copy, paste, live action, boom, done, got it. And you're printing money. Literally printing money. Yeah. Swagaliga says, I remember seeing The Phantom Menace opening day, and my first impression was Lucas made this film for kids. It always amazed me how people bashed the prequels as if Lucas was trying to win Best Picture. That's so true. And even when he created the original trilogy, it was made for kids. He's always said over and over and over again, Star Wars is made for kids. What does nobody get about this? As I'm a grown adult, 21 years old, at least, grown enough, 6'5", I've grown plenty. As I'm sitting here screaming at you that Star Wars is for kids and we're talking all about Star Wars, it's made for kids. And just because we like it and we're not kids, it doesn't mean it's still not made for kids. So yeah, they can all shut up. Yeah. Your pal Joe says, the KOTOR games provide so much backstory on that era already. They need to use it to their advantage in Acolyte. Yeah, they really just need to go to the original. They need to go to the Old Republic. And I think maybe what their idea is with the Acolyte is to kind of go to the end of the High Republic and then go to the beginning of all of it with the Dawn of the Jedi movie with James Mangold, and then go from there. If they go from the beginning of the Jedi and develop a story from the beginning Jedi all the way to Darth Revan, all the way to Darth Bane and the Rule of Two, all the way through the High Republic, into the prequel trilogy, that would be amazing. But as of right now, there's no word of any of that. And it sucks. Austin says, just make a Darth Bane trilogy. Just make the Darth Bane trilogy movies. Exactly. The Darth Bane trilogy is literally right there for the picking. It's already a trilogy of books, already written out for you. It's insane. It's insane. It's insane. Holy crap, we've already gone for an hour and 40? Jeepers. You guys are the best. You know that? We could just talk Star Wars all day long. It's amazing. It's amazing. The community is just still growing. We still get new people in the live streams. We still get new people on the channel all the time. It's amazing. By the way, we're only like 150-ish watch hours away. So maybe in the next coming weeks, we'll be able to do memberships. We'll be able to do super chats. We'll be able to do giveaways in time for the Ahsoka show. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. Yeah. Can't wait for all of that. Your pal Joe says, I'm still waiting on Solo Part 2. I really hope we get closure on that story. Yeah, me too. I mean, we'll never see Solo 2 ever, at least until Kathleen Kennedy gets fired, and then maybe we'll see it. But she thinks that Solo is something that just like destroyed Star Wars for some reason. I don't get it. She thinks that Solo was the thing that was the problem because it got bad reviews, it didn't make a lot of money, when the real issue is the sequel trilogy. She didn't realize that The Rise of Skywalker got a 53 or whatever it is on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, she didn't realize that Solo was actually a good movie and the sequels were what was killing the fandom. Like, she's so blind, it's ridiculous. But for that reason, we won't see a Solo 2. We just won't. But like Lando will probably be more of a Solo 2 than anything. Austin says, what if Thrawn will actually turn Ezra to the dark side? That would be so cool. Seeing dark side Ezra and then having to bring him back to the light via Sabine and Ahsoka would be amazing. Swagger says, exactly. The Darth Bane trilogy audiobooks on YouTube are unbelievable. Yeah, they got the sound effects. They got the different voice actors. It's amazing. J1DRZ says, I like Solo better than the sequels. You could make the argument. You could easily make that argument. I like Solo better than Last Jedi for sure. I like Solo probably better than Rise too, but maybe The Force Awakens I like more. Not too sure. It's probably equal, but Solo is an underrated movie for sure. Your pal Joe says, it's more likely that we get the Lando TV series with Donald Glover. Yeah, it's way more likely we get that show than a Solo 2 as a movie, for sure. 1,000%. 1 billion %. Ed Chilton says, the sequel trilogy really damaged the Star Wars brand. I mean, that's, what did I say was the understatement of the year earlier? That the prequels were better than the sequels? This might be the second most understatement of the year. The sequel trilogy really damaged the Star Wars brand. Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. And Kathleen Kennedy, for some reason, does not see that. It's crazy. Swagger Like Us says, Solo should have been the first live-action series. That would have been awesome. Actually, that would have made a lot of sense. Well, that's the thing, is Solo, because it didn't succeed, because it did lose a lot of money, is the reason that we got the Disney Plus shows. So technically the failure, or not failure, but like the lack of people going to see Solo is what turned the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie into a show, which turned Boba Fett into a show. So I don't know. I think the Obi-Wan Kenobi show would have been a lot better as a movie, but yeah, the Solo movie would have been a lot better as a show. So yeah, it's kind of like an endless battle. Edit Solo would have been a great setting for a series. In particular, Kiara going into the Crimson Dawn with Maul. That's true too. Rogue One is the best. Rogue One is the best. Unbelievable. It has had a great story and it leads into A New Hope. That's the thing too. Rogue One is one of the best Star Wars movies ever. And a lot of people will agree with me when I say that. But Rogue One is a spin-off movie and they stopped doing spin-off movies because of Solo. So what other spin-off movies are we missing out on because of Kathleen Kennedy's stupidity with this whole Solo thing? Like, Kenobi would have been better as a movie. Maybe there's another type of Rogue One movie that would have been better if they created it. And now it's not going to be created because Kathleen's too stupid. Your pal Joe says Rogue One number 1, or Rogue number 1. What? Is Rogue One your favorite Star Wars movie? What's your favorite Star Wars movie? Everybody tell me in the chat right now. Tell me in the chat. Tell me in the chat. Why not? Let's keep this party going. Why not? Why not? I do have to get on out of here in a minute. I do. Your pal Joe says Rogue One is his favorite Star Wars movie. It's probably top 4 for me. Top 3 maybe, arguably. Top 3. My top 2, and I go back and forth all the time on them, are Revenge of the Sith and Empire Strikes Back. J1DRZ says Empire Strikes Back. Ed Shelton says Empire Strikes Back. There you go. You got 2 votes for Empire. Sulfur Squirrel says Revenge of the Sith. Mine is Revenge of the Sith as well. And Empire is probably tied. Your pal Joe says 1 is Rogue One, 2 is Revenge of the Sith, and 3 is Empire. So mine is probably almost the reverse of that. I would say Empire and Revenge are probably tied for first. Rogue One is third. Then I'd probably go... I don't know. Return of the Jedi and A New Hope are probably tied again. Maybe, like, on any given day, I could say one is better than the other. I'd guess Return of the Jedi is better than A New Hope just because it's such a good ending. And then I'd probably say, tough. Solo maybe next? No. I think I put, I don't know. Maybe The Force Awakens, maybe Attack of the Clones, maybe The Phantom Menace. All 4 of those movies are very, very close, I must say. And then, without a doubt, the last 2 on the list are Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. Not in that order. It goes Rise of Skywalker, and then The Last Jedi is last. For me. Austin Snow says, number 1 is Rogue One. Number 2 is Return of the Jedi, and number 3 is Revenge of the Sith. I respect it. Episode 2 is decent. The ending is unreal. That's true. Attack of the Clones gets so much crap. I feel like it's so much crap just because of its romanticness. It's a word, look it up. It's just got so much romance in it. The Anakin and Padme stuff kind of turns a lot of people off. But nothing beats the Geonosis fight. I mean, it's amazing. And Dooku versus Anakin and Obi-Wan, and then Dooku versus Yoda. It's so good. Even Obi-Wan versus Jango Fett, even Windu versus Jango Fett. Like, there's so much good stuff in episode 2. It doesn't get the praise it deserves. Ed says, if you rewatch the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy, focus on Anakin. Then Revenge of the Sith is the best. Yeah, Revenge of the Sith is just so damn good. It's so good. From the opener of the space fight outside of Coruscant to go get Palpatine back from Dooku and Grievous, all the way to Order 66, and of course the Obi-Wan versus Grievous, and Obi-Wan versus Anakin, of course, but you also have Palpatine versus Yoda. It's so freaking good. It's so good. And what's funny is my 2 favorite movies are Empire and Revenge, and both of them the good guys lose, and that kind of has this that has to mean something. It has to mean something. Even Rogue One, the good guys technically lose. They all die. They technically win. They get the plans to the rebels, but they die. They lose. They end up dying. It's funny that the best 3 Star Wars movies, at least in the community as we can semi-agree on, the good guys lose. A good movie doesn't mean that the good guys win. It's interesting. Your pal Joe says, my ranking of best versus favorite Star Wars movies are very different. That's true. Best versus favorite are different. Definitely. Austin says, don't forget about the final arc of the Clone Wars. Well, that's not a movie technically, but yeah, the Clone Wars. Well, what's your favorite Star Wars show? Let's put it with that. Favorite Star Wars show? Your options are Clone Wars, Rebels, Mando, Book of Boba Fett, Resistance, I guess. I don't know. That's it. Swagger says, in 2016, I saw Infinity War and Rogue One. Both were really Infinity War came in I thought it was 2018. I think you're wrong on that one. Both were awesome, but Rogue One's third act blew me away. The Scarif battle, Vader's hallway scene, and Carrie Fisher passing made the last hit big time. That's true. Yeah, no, I mean, Rogue One is amazing. And yeah, the hallway scene, Scarif battle is amazing. But I think Infinity War came out in 2018. But somebody fact check me on that. The J1DRZ says, the end of Rogue One with Vader is so good. I mean, it's the start of the hallway scene. Since then, we got Luke's hallway scene, Maul's hallway scene, Obi-Wan's hallway scene. It is the start of the hallway scene. Sulfur Squirrel says, Umbara arc was so good in the Clone Wars. Umbara. I'm blanking on it. Umbara Star Wars. Umbara. Oh, yeah. With the, oh, yeah. Yeah, no. The Umbara arc is hard to watch. It's hard to watch because of the stupid ass, what's his name? What's the guy's name that's the worst character ever? It's hard to watch because I hate him so much. What's his name? What's the guy from the Umbara arc? I hate him so much. Ed says, I want more Star Wars references to Black Sun and Crimson Dawn. What are they up to? I need this in my Star Wars. Yeah, I want more Underworld stuff for sure in live action, in the Mandoverse, the Crimson Dawn, Kiara, all that should be front and center. But to your point, Ed, we will be getting a lot more of that, of those two, i.e. the Black Sun and the Crimson Dawn, in the Star Wars, what the hell is it called? The new game that's coming out next year. What's it called? Underworld? It's not called Underworld. What's it called? Why am I... after an hour 50, I guess I just lose the ability to think. What's the new Star Wars game that was just announced? Outlaws. Thank you, Selfish Squirrel. Yeah, Star Wars Outlaws is going to involve the Black Sun and the Crimson Dawn as Underworld. Or at least the Crimson Dawn's not confirmed, but the Black Sun is. Austin says, Clone Wars, Mandalorian, and Rebels are my favorite 3 shows. My favorite is probably Rebels. Favorite arc is definitely Siege of Mandalore or the Mortis arc. And favorite season of any show is Mando Season 2. I know, it's all over the place. Pong Krell, yes. Pong Krell. Yeah, the guy with 4 arms, yeah. Yeah, he's the worst. I hate him so much. He's the worst. I hate him. All right, let's end the poll and let's start to wrap this up. And we've been going on for so long. Mortis was amazing. Yeah, Mortis was amazing. Rebels, Andor, and Mando. Andor, really interesting. Interesting. With 58% of you saying yes, you think Sabine will have the Force in Ahsoka. That's crazy. So it's almost 50-50 on that poll. I mean, it's kind of close. 58 to 41 is pretty close. And that's kind of interesting because we don't know. We really don't know if she'll have the Force or not when it comes to the Ahsoka show, but we'll just have to wait and find out. All right, I am going to get on out of here. I do have to go eat some food and get going. So, long stream tonight, but it was amazing. You guys are the absolute best for hanging out. We are so close to getting monetized, being able to do the super chats, being able to do the memberships, being able to do giveaways. Big things coming with the channel in the next couple weeks. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to do all of it. But yeah, so smash a like on this video, hit subscribe, hit that bell so you get notified every time I post a video, and my pretty face will show up in the recommended feed of yours. But yeah, so yeah, it was amazing. What a great stream. You guys are the best. But I'm gonna get on out of here. May the Force be with you. Always. Where's that stupid button? There it is. Okay. What a great stream. What a great show. What a great stream. What a great show. You guys are the absolute best. Thank you for sticking around with me. Thank you for being the best audience in the world, being the best fans ever, and being awesome because you guys are awesome. All right. Have a great rest of your evening. Have a great rest of your lives. And good night, everybody.